What is happening, baby? Welcome back to the Huddle Chat Sports Network's very own fantasy football huddle, presented as always by DanklyfeBrand. Let's talk sports and shank it golf brand. Thank y'all so much. First and foremost, before I get anything started, I gotta thank y'all so much for all the love, all the supports. I've been getting tons more views, tons more likes, tons more comments. Just the interaction from y'all is amazing. I originally started this channel to help myself get more research with my fantasy football league, and I've turned out to help y'all get the advantage over those idiots in your fantasy football league. And now we've hit our first 100 subscribers here on the Huddle Chat Sports Network's new YouTube channel, and I can't thank y'all enough. So the way I can show my appreciation is by getting directly into today's week 4 stardoms and situms list. So fill up your cup, roll something up, and let's get into the week 4 stardoms and situms. First on the list, it's going to be quarterback Daniel Jones. I told you to sit him in weeks 1 and 3. He scored 5 points in each of those games. I told you to start him in week 2. He put up more than 30 points. I'm starting to feel like a Danny Dimes, Vanilla Vic whisperer at this point. So we're going to kind of continue the trend with Daniel Jones, and we're starting him this week. We're going back on the flop from the flip, and we're starting Daniel Jones. He's playing Seattle Seahawks this week. They're allowing the second most passing yards and more than 1,000, the second most passing yards in the league, and they've allowed more than 1,000 passing yards in this season. They allowed 361 yards and 2 touchdowns to Andy Dalton last week. Come on now. The Seattle Seahawks are going to get ate alive by Vanilla Vic. Put him in your lineup. Another person I'm putting in my lineup at quarterback is going to be the Purdy man himself, Brock Purdy, Mr. Relevant at this point. He's playing the Arizona Cardinals. He's got multiple passing touchdowns in 7 of his 8 first NFL starts. He's tied to some of the best weapons in the NFL. He's tied to one of the most prolific offenses in the NFL. Arizona is a bottom 12 team in yards allowed from the quarterback position. Brock Purdy, everything looks good. Everything looks Purdy. Keep him in the starting lineup if he's not already. Now, we're going to be sitting Mr. Massage himself, Deshaun Watson. He's playing the Baltimore Ravens. He had a good matchup last week, and he provided for Deshaun Watson owners. However, this week he's playing a top 3 passing defense, and I think this is going to be a defensive battle, potentially fairly low scoring. Keep him on your bench. There's got to be another option out there. Moving on to the running backs, run the damn ball and start Javonte Williams from the Denver Broncos against the Chicago Bears this week. Fewer than 10 points in his first 3 games. He's been stumbling out of the gate. The Bears defense allowed 7 total touchdowns so far to the running back positions, as well as second most rushing yards so far this season to the position. Javonte Williams, you love the matchup. You love the volume. I'm definitely going to be plugging him in as a flex option. Another person that a lot of people are damn near ready to give up on, but you should start him this week. Don't fall victim to the terrible first 2 weeks. Alexander Madison coming finally off of a good performance last week in week 3. Cam Akers is going to be active this week. And if I remember correctly, in the live episode that we do on Sundays at 11:30 a.m. Eastern and 9:30 a.m. Mountain Standard Time, on YouTube, you can always check it out. We're also going to be on Facebook and Twitch this week, so make sure you check that out. If I remember correctly, on the live episode last Sunday, I told you guys Alexander Madison was going to have a fantastic game without Cam Akers playing. It was his last chance to prove and show that he is still the running back on this team that they need to trust. Cam Akers is going to get some snaps this week, and I do think Alexander Madison still deserves flex option or maybe even low-end running back 2 appeal. Carolina Panthers is who they're matched up against, and they've allowed 7 touchdowns as well, and they have allowed the 3rd most rushing yards to running backs so far this season. I'm loving the matchup for Alexander Madison, but I'm not loving the matchup at all for Brian Robinson Jr. from the Washington Commanders. This is the first time I'm feeling like sitting him, and we're sitting him this week. They're playing the Philadelphia Eagles at home against Philadelphia in Philly, and the Eagles are crazy at home against running backs. They've only allowed 6 touchdowns and the 8th lowest points per game in fantasy football to running backs since the beginning of last season, and that trend has continued. Things are not looking good for Brian Robinson this week, and I'm keeping him out of my lineup. Moving into the pass catchers, I'm starting Adam Thielen, man. More than a Thielen. He's been on fire recently, and who doesn't love a revenge game? This week is built around revenge, and I'm riding the revenge roller coaster. Minnesota is allowing the 4th most fantasy football points per game to slot wide receivers, and Adam Thielen lines up at the slot, runs 70% of his routes out of the slot position, and I think he's going to torch his old team and make them miss him. I'm also all in on Scary Terry McLaurin, and not just because this is going to be the first weekend of October. Scary Terry McLaurin is playing the Philadelphia Eagles, and you would think that it's a bad matchup on paper, but they've allowed the top 10 points to outside wide receivers this season. We all know Scary Terry is a perimeter wide receiver. He also, when you look at Scary Terry against Philadelphia, he has scored 16 plus in 7 games against Philadelphia in his career. He loves to eat some eagle on Sundays when he sees that green and black. So I'm putting Terry McLaurin all up in my lineup, and I'm not feeling scared about it at all. But I am a little scared about DeAndre Hopkins, so I'm going to be sitting him this week. He struggled in the last 2 games. Only 12 targets over the last 2 games. He's playing the Cincinnati Bengals, who have been extremely stingy to perimeter wide receivers. D-Hop's got to show me something. I know they're not in the show me state, but he's got to show me something until I put him back in my starting lineup. Moving through to the tight ends and going through them quickly so we can wrap this video up. Pat Freiermuth, starting him this week from the Pittsburgh Steelers after playing the Miami Dolphins. And the Miami Dolphins have allowed the most touchdowns to tight ends per game since last season. And I'm also going to be sitting Kyle Pitts from the Atlanta Falcons. I told you guys last week, I'm sitting him till he shows me something. And honestly, if tight end wasn't such an absolute dumpster fire, Kyle Pitts would be on waiver wires in a lot more leagues than he's in. Kyle Pitts has been absolutely terrible. And at this point, I'm starting to believe that he's just not that good of a fantasy football option. He's a great athlete, great football player, but he's not good for your fantasy football roster. Sit him on the bench. That's going to be it for the startums and sit-ems for today. Yet again, thank y'all so much for that 100 subscribers. I love y'all so much. Make sure you keep your chins up and your attitudes down. I'm going to see y'all next time. Peace out.